When I'm giving short game lessons with my students, one thing that I always stress with them is that they need to be creative and be individualistic. The thing with the short game is there are no rules. For nearly every shot you're going to encounter, you're going to have multiple options. And the best short game players in the world, they literally just make stuff up. So what you need to do is you need to know your options and you need to be creative. Once you've got that down, then what I want you to do is hit the shot that you're most comfortable with. And you're going to find that nearly every situation you come across, you're going to have 3, 4, maybe even more options. So in today's lesson, I'm going to show you a situation where you could hit 3 or 4 different clubs and pull off the shot pretty well. So as you can see, I'm standing here with my ball just about a foot off of the green. And I'm back off the first little cut of fringe that they have, and I'm in what I would call some short rough. But again, I'm very close to the edge of the green, and this is a situation where you have a lot of options, and I'm going to show you 4 of them today. So I brought out 4 clubs: my putter, my gap wedge, my sand wedge, and a 3-wood. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through each club and hit each shot and kind of walk through what I'm going to do and what I'm going to think when I hit this. I'm going to start with my putter. And would I putt this? You know, it's going to depend on the situation. Because the grass is kind of low here and it's such a small amount I need to go over, I do feel comfortable that I could putt this ball, get it through this little bit of rough without having it get knocked too far offline or throwing off the speed. So because I can get a pretty clean stroke back here, I'm just going to make my normal putting stroke. Now another option for a lot of people, if you have a lot of guts and you practice it enough, is actually to hit it with the toe or your putter, as that cuts through the grass a little bit easier and doesn't get caught. But for me, I'm just going to hit it like a traditional putt. I'm going to do my 2 practice strokes here, looking at the hole. I'm going to step up, not going to do anything fancy, just going to get it a little bit more firm at the beginning to get through this 12 inches of bumpy grass. And you can see I pulled that one off pretty darn good. It's almost going in there, and the ball didn't hop or skip too much, so that worked out very well. Now the other option is to just take a gap wedge or a pitching wedge and hit a traditional bump and run shot, which is probably going to be the most common option here that people are going to pick, because most people are very comfortable with a little wedge shot that's going to loft the ball just a little bit and get it on the green and get it rolling. And it's a simple little shot. So for that bump and run, forward press my hands a little bit, stiff wristed, and I basically make my little pendulum putting stroke. So I'm going to do the same thing. Got a tiny stance, ball's a little bit forward, hands are forward press, tiny little stroke, as then you can see it's going to loft it just enough to get it over this grass and get it close to the hole. Now an option a lot of people don't use, and this can be a great option if you've got some longer grass behind your ball and you don't feel like you can get your entire club face on the ball, and that's to belly or blade a sand wedge. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use the very front edge of our sand wedge, and we're going to hover it up here about the same height as the middle of the ball. And I like to play it forward in my stance so that I catch it a little more on an upstroke. Last thing I want to do is hit down and pop it. So by using the sand wedge and blading it, I'm going to be able to cut right through the grass here without getting stuck. And again, I just use my putting stroke. It's that simple. So I've even got my putting grip, which for me is left hand low, and I'm simply going to just putt and try to hit the top edge of the ball. And that turned out pretty good. I missed it a little bit to the right. Haven't practiced that one for a long time. Now, the 4th option, you don't see this as often, but many of you have seen it recently in majors. We just saw it at the US Open, and Tiger kind of made it famous. I think years ago it was a US Open at Pinehurst, and that's putting with the fairway wood. And again, the beauty of this is the fairway wood, with its wide rounded sole, it's not going to get stuck. So you're going to be able to cut right through that grass, and it's a simple little putting stroke. Now the fairway woods, they come out kind of hot, so you're going to make a much smaller stroke than what you think you need to do. Just a little tiny stroke, and the ball's going to pop out. It's going to get a lot of speed and roll right up by the hole if you practice it enough. So there you have it. You've got 4 options right there. You've got 4 clubs. Doesn't mean you can't use other clubs in your bag. I just wanted to give you some ideas here. And again, remember, always go with the shot that you're most comfortable with. It's simple and it works. And if you have a lesson idea, please send it to me in the Ask Maria section on mygolfinstructor.com.